Hello, good morning, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this parallel session called Working with Regions for the European Recovery. I'm Magda De Carli. I work for the European Commission, Director General Research and Innovation, and I'm very pleased to be moderating this session, which is really entering into a lot of the important issues that we heard mentioned during the opening speeches by the ministry and all the important politicians and operators in the morning, and also from our Commission Director General and the Committee of the Regions. It has, in fact, the importance of this session relies on the fact that we are really in a crucial moment, and a crucial moment for two reasons. First of all, is because this conference that we are co-organizing de facto with our with the presidency, previous president, the Croatian presidency, and the University of Split, was supposed to happen in April in situ. And unfortunately, for the obvious reasons, we needed to cancel it and to postpone it. But when we postponed it, we were sure that by now the situation would have been better. So here we are again in lockdown, Belgium, you know, and the situation is quite tough. So it is indeed a moment of crisis that is not finished. We are fully into that. And that's why it is a very difficult moment. That is not only in Europe, but in the entire world. But at the same time, I think, and this is the positive side, we are in a crucial moment as well, because we are at the, let's say, at the start of the new era, let's say. I mean, we are really in a moment in which we are starting a number of programs. There is a new there is a new approach. There are new a new impetus to look for the recovery and to be use maximum the resilience. So we have a problem, but we have tools to overcome it. And what are these tools? These tools are the Next Generation Fund, indeed, and the Resilience and Recovery Funds and the resources that have been mobilized. The tools are this new concept of the European research area with the communication that has been recently adopted, where really there is the centrality of the importance of research and innovation is there as something that is to be used, to be supported, and to be beneficial not only to the usual customers, the researchers community, but really to the entire citizen and the society. And this is in strong collaboration indeed with all actors, including regions, that plays an important role. So we have this new European research area setting the centrality of research and innovation. We have programming tools like Horizon Europe that is about to be adopted, going through the latest negotiation. We have the European, the cohesion policy funds that again are in the negotiation and soon to be launched. So we are really at the start of a new era with the good tools and a nice approach of working together with the different actors with all different levels. And in this moment and with these tools, who are the actors that needs to play? Regions have an important role to play. They have an important role to play in designing the future, in benefiting from the future, in co-creating the future together with the other actors, together with the Commission, together with the member states and the different stakeholders around it. So the session today is about all this. So how we can work with regions for the European recovery using all these tools. And the nice thing is indeed that I'm here with a panel of extremely knowledgeable and expert people that will be presenting to you and answer questions, providing their point of view from the institutions they represent, with the experience that they have, giving their view and their possible solutions to this problem from different angles. And I think that's why I'm really looking forward to start with this session, to hear what they have to say. So I'm here. I will introduce to you the panel, and then one by one, I will ask them some questions for them to kick off and to put forward their point of view, to inform you of what is going on at the level of the Commission, at the level of the different regions, if there are good experiences you can learn from. And then it's up to you to ask them questions. So in the last half an hour of our 1 hour and a half, you will have the possibility to post during this period the questions through the chat box, and then we will pick them up and our speakers will be able to provide you the answers. So I start immediately to introduce the panel. So it's with us Elisa Roller. She's the head of unit of in the European Commission, the SecGen Recover units. This is the Recovery and Resilience Task Force that has been recently set up within the European Commission. She's particularly responsible for Croatia, France, Bulgaria, Romania, and Slovenia, and also for business environment and public administration. Why it's important, she will present to us the RRF, and we know that there are member states that are looking as well at regions as really actors that can identify and then can also implement the recovery. And she will give us her view on that. We have Mr. Lars Holter Nielsen. He is a director at the Central Denmark EU Office, Vice Chair of the European Regions Research and Innovation Network, ERIN network, that most of you, I'm sure, know. So welcome, Lars. We have Ms. Laima Kauspediene, CEO of Sunrise Valley Science and Technology Park and member of the EIT Governing Board. So welcome to Laima too. And Ilaria Corsi, coordinator of the European Projects and Enterprise Europe Network, EEN office, and also members and working for Lazio Innova on behalf of the Lazio region. And last but not least, our Kieran McCarthy from members of the European Committee of the Regions, which has accompanied us in several meetings of WIRE. So I don't want to waste too much time more on that, and I pass immediately to our first speaker. So first of all, welcome to all of you. And I ask Elisa then, so we say you are part of this specific task force that has been put in place to ensure adequate follow-up of the Recovery and Resilience Fund. So we, of course, consider research and innovation a key element, but it would be nice to hear from you, first of all, if very briefly you can tell us about the key objectives of RRF and also what is requested to member states in order to benefit for these funds. And secondly, we enter into the focus of our session. If you can then tell us in this context, what is the role that can be played by regions in that? So that would be very nice for to hear from you. So floor is yours, Elisa. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Magda, and good morning to everyone. I would like to thank you for inviting me to speak, and I wish also that we were in Split, joining the organizers there, because it's a beautiful city and I've been there several times, and I'm sure we would rather be there than here in our current confinement conditions. The Recovery and Resilience Facility was set up in response to the impact that the COVID-19 crisis is having across Europe. It was agreed in July, in the July European Council, and it has a budget of 672 billion euros for financial support through loans and grants. The idea is not to replicate what we have, for example, in the structural funds, in the cohesion policy programs, where you have kind of long-term, medium to long-term planning and programming for the different priorities of the regions. The aim is very much to, as the words say, help the European Union economy to recover, but also to make it more resilient. So what the facility aims to do is to support the reforms and investments in different EU member states to help our economies to become more green, more digital, and more resilient. So let me explain a little bit how it works and what are some of the important elements to remember. So the first thing is that green and digital transition are at the heart of the recovery and resilience of the EU economy. So as such, what the facility aims to do is that at least 20% of the facility will be spent, of the funds of the facility will be spent on reforms and investments supporting Europe's digital transition. The second important thing is that in line with our aims to become a climate neutral continent, the Green Deal, and for Europe to become a greener and much more sustainable continent, what the Recovery and Resilience Facility proposes is also a 37% target to meet our climate ambitions. So I think these are really important elements that I'll come back to in a minute to where I think regions can play an important role. How does it work in practice? Member states are now in the process of drawing up their RRPs, so their plans under the facility, and what they are supposed to based on their national situation. And those reforms and investments are supposed to be in line with the annual growth strategy and the dialogue that the Commission has been having over the past few years with the member states on a number of areas, including research and innovation, including how to become a more greener and sustainable economy, including the digital transition, including labor market issues, employment, social inclusion. So it really covers a broad range of areas. The Commission in September presented guidance to help member states prepare and present their recovery and resilience plans. And more recently, and this is available on our website, we also presented examples of areas where of the types of reforms and investments that member states could include in the different parts of their plan. So when it comes to improving the skills that are needed, digitalization, helping with the green investments. And I think that this is an important aspect to remember. Now, on the second part of the question, how can regions become much more involved? Well, first of all, what the annual growth strategy says in September is we very much have urged the member states to engage in an open and transparent consultation process with stakeholders, including local and regional authorities. So we want local and regional authorities and all stakeholders to be involved at every step of the way, because the ownership of the stakeholders, and especially for local and regional authorities, many of whom will be responsible for implementing key aspects of the plan, will be very important for the successful implementation. The plans need to be submitted to the Commission by April at the latest, but we are already in the process of discussing with member states drafts of plans. So a number of member states have already sent us draft plans, and we are discussing those. We are also seeing that many member states have opened public consultations on these draft plans, and we are following that very closely. Once we receive the plans, the Commission will assess them based on a set of criteria. And what we're going to be looking at is whether the investments and reforms which are set out in the plans contribute to addressing the challenges that have been identified in these country-specific recommendations, contain the measures that contribute to the green and digital transitions, and contribute to strengthening the growth potential job creation, and economic and social resilience of the member states. So these are the things that we will be looking at. So for the moment, that's what we're doing. We're having lots of intense discussions with member states. We're seeing, as I said, how they are very engaged in many member states in discussing and consulting with stakeholders on the different plans. And what we hope to see is that this is really a combined effort at local, regional level, as well as other stakeholders, to make sure that with these funds that are available, and this is, I think, very important because it's the first time that the European Union has offered such an important if you like, injection into the European economy, which we all know has suffered greatly due to this pandemic, that this will help the EU economy and Europe's regions to become much more innovative and resilient. So hopefully with that, I've covered the basics and happy to answer later on or now any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Elisa, thanks a lot. Very informative. You gave us a very nice picture of all the key elements of the RRF that was contained in the guidance, and in fact the member states we have to follow. Of course, when we talk about a Green Deal, we talk about digital and resilience. Of course, we see an important role to be played by the research and innovation. And indeed, the other aspects that you are highlighting is very important, is this consultation as well, and the fact that to be open and transparent. And we know already that indeed regions have been consulted, and we'll hear also a real experience from the panel later on. So this is very encouraging. As you rightly say, it's a big mobilization of funds, and they have to be used in the best possible way. And in this way, also through the involvement of regions and investing in research and innovation, this is as well something that is to be taken into account. So thanks a lot. There will be probably questions afterwards from you, but we move immediately to Dr. Nielsen. Liz, so we were saying in the introduction, you practically wear a double hat, let's say. So you are both a member of the Danish EU office, but also vice president of ERIN. So first of all, maybe you can tell us from the Danish, let's say, more experience, what are the needs in terms of investment and reforms? Elisa was mentioning that in her presentation. In a country like yours, in fact, that is quite advanced in research and innovation. So how do you see this effort, and how ERA can play a role in that? And then the second part of the question will be more exactly focus again on the regional side. So you are a vice president of ERIN, very well-known organization representing the interest of many regions. So what is the role that the regions can indeed can play in this recovery, and eventually less developed R&I developed regions, what they can learn from eventually more advanced, let's say, in terms of research and innovation regions. So if you have examples for that as well, would be great. So floor is yours, Lars. Thanks.
Thank you, Magda, and good morning, everybody, and also to the audience out there. I'm happy to be with you. And it's correct, I'm wearing my invisible double hat here today. So firstly, as director of Central Denmark EU office, which is the representation of the regional government, the local governments, the universities, the education system, and the business community of Central Denmark region in Brussels. And here I'm heading a team of 20 people who are working exactly on what we are discussing here today. How can we boost innovation, development, and create growth on the basis of European cooperation? And then my second hat is being the vice chair of ERIN. So for a few years I was the chair, now I'm the vice chair. And as you know, but maybe not all in the audience know, then ERIN is a Brussels-based network that brings together more than 120 members from all over Europe. And we are working to promote the regional and local dimension in the European research and innovation policy and programs. So I'm trying to wear both hats simultaneously while I give my remarks here, and I hope there will be no contradictions between the two perspectives. And first of all, I'm speaking as a real region and how we see the situation. And I will take my starting point in the crisis that we are in, that seems to continue and continue. And I think the first lesson from the crisis like this and from all over crisis is that resilience is the key, and especially the economic resilience. There will always be new crises. So much we learned, and we need to have the resources to get through it. And the resources we need, first of all, to dampen the impact of the crisis, so to level out the fluctuations that a crisis develop. Second of all, we need the resources to be able to allocate funds to critical areas that is occurring during a crisis. That means the social means, so job creation, and that means to allocated funds to strategic places in the economy that we need to maintain so we can build a future on these. And at the same time, we also have to accept that some things during a crisis will fall. And this is natural, and that is also a means to make us stronger for the future. And then, of course, we need the resources and the resilience to invest. So to invest in coming out of the crisis and to build a stronger future. So this is in a way my starting point, that resilience is very important. And then if you talk about investments, and here I'm going to talk about the public investments, and of course private investments are very important, and we need to ensure that public and private investments are going hand in hand. But I will here talk about the private investments, and the investments in research and innovation. That is for us the key to get through a crisis, to create growth, to create livable, sustainable societies, and to ensure the future resilience, and of course also to build on the problems and the opportunities, especially the green agenda and the digitalization. And in a country like Denmark, we see that most of the resources to public investments, they come from the national level. And I think that's the same in most countries in Europe. But I think that if we want to see synergies for the public investments coming from the national level, but also from the European level, we have to look at the regions, because it is the regions that are in a position to create synergies for these investment funds. And why is that? And I think that is because, and that is what we see and what we are working with, that is because the local and the regional level, they can ensure a much more handheld process in implementing the investments. So that means that we can join actors in the innovation systems. We can focus on specific opportunities that are not necessarily objective. We can mobilize personal resources in the innovation systems. We can mobilize the right competences, and we can navigate many different funding opportunities. And I think and indeed also in this respect, indeed also Erin believe very much in the ecosystem perspective, and that is to me you could say the multi-actor approach, and recognizing that many actors in building in innovation is essential for accelerating and strengthening the systems that we are talking about here. And for me, the ecosystems, and I think we see that they are very often place-based, and they are very often place-dependent. So therefore, we try as regions to be the catalyst for developing these ecosystems. And I can come maybe with an example from my own region, where we for some years has seen a ecosystem in health data developing, and we have we are now trying to further develop this ecosystem into you can say a real ecosystem on the European level. And what we are doing to do that is to join the health system in our region, and that is in Denmark, the responsibility of the regional and the local level. We are mobilizing regional research institutions. We are mobilizing the education systems. We are bringing private companies in this area, health data, into the system. We are promoting startups, and we are promoting spin-offs in this area. And then we are using national funds, and we are using European funds to support what we are doing. And then again, as I said before, we are also mobilizing personal resources, so people who can boost the efforts we are doing. And of course, also what we are doing in my organization in Brussels is to build on this, and how this is possible. That is to use the local and the regional resources as a glue that bring all these aspects together that I just mentioned. So. So bringing what we're saying now is important, and now we come into the European research area. Then is to bring this our regional health data ecosystem into the European level, and we are doing that first of all to strengthen our own ecosystem, to build or to make the conditions right for growth and development in our region, but also to contribute to the European aspirations in this area. And how we are doing that is to participate in European projects. We are connecting to other ecosystems in the same area around Europe. We are getting the national recognition that in Denmark we are the lead on these aspects, and we are doing this, for instance, by being the Danish representative in a European joint action on the European health data space. So this is all things that we are doing to underline these ecosystems. And for our perspective, the European research area, that is very important tool to achieve what we are trying. And we, my region, and Aaron, we are very happy with the proposal that has come from the European Commission for the renewed European research area. And what that will give us, what we see it will give us, and what we would like to see from the European research area is to enable access to European cooperation on R&I. We believe that we have to look into the European challenges on a European level and not on a regional or a national level. We want to see the ERR to bring the best together, and to ensure that those who work together, they are committed to the cooperation, and we want to have a scope for the work that includes research as well as innovation. And then, of course, we are very interested to bring funding into the system to support what we are trying to do. And I think the conditions for success and the commitment to the European research area, as you have proposed from the side of the Commission, is a very clear objective on excellence. So of course, widening is also important when we talk research and innovation. But I think that that widening must not come in the way of excellence. And I think there are other means to bring into the widening agenda. So for me, it's important, and for Aaron, it's important that from the side of the Commission is a continued focus, as we've been very happy to see until now, a continued focus on the regional and the local perspective in research and innovation, and the resources that we can bring into your thinking. And then on the other hand, we from the regional and local level, we will contribute to ensure a coordination with your strategies, and also coordinate and make sure that our national actors, they coordinate with the strategies and the programs and the ways forward that the European Commission and Europe is offering, and in that way bring synergies to the R&I system, and using that as a tool to get through the crisis, but also to build a more resilient future. Thank you very much.
Lars, thanks a lot. Once again, a very rich, I have the sun, it's sun in Belgium, Brussels, sun comes in. So thanks a lot for your very rich contribution as well to the discussion. I noted down a few things I really liked, this idea of having this strategic places. You mentioned the public and private investments, personal resources as well, and so this idea of having a strategy with a diversification of different tools that can come in with different funding as well, and also this, of course, this focus on what is these challenges that are at European level. They're enabling the access to excellence, and excellence as well as a focus, combined as well with the widening, but excellence always as a focus. So thanks a lot for your contribution. A lot of nice inputs in that. And one of the things you mentioned is really the reference to the ecosystem, the innovation ecosystem. And this ties very well to the next speaker, so to Laima Kauspedine. So you are, again, you are a CEO of Sunrise Valley Science and Technology Park and EIT. So while we have mentioned the European research area communication, Lars mentioned it as well, with these different objectives. Of course, the local ecosystems are very much mentioned, and the EIT has indeed a privileged position in the contact with regions and local ecosystems through the knowledge innovation communities, co-location centers in many EU cities. So the idea is, of course, we know about the EIT regional innovation scheme. So with all these elements in your portfolio, what are the lessons learned from your experience in working in close contact with these modest and moderate innovators, which is the focus of your actions, and how do you think we could better support these modest and moderate innovators in the recovery process? So, Laima, the floor is yours. Thanks.
Thank you, Magda, for the question. I think this is very important to talk about the modest and moderate innovators and how to support them, because the chain is no stronger than its weakest link. And for that very reason, back in 2014, like you mentioned, European Institute of Innovation and Technology launched a regional innovation scheme that is dedicated to the countries that are performing not so well in the innovation scoreboard. Well, the scheme helps the local innovator to access the EIT knowledge and innovation community activities, creates linkages among key regional innovation actors, and offers tailor-made programs to support vibrant innovation ecosystems in countries that are with a lower innovation performance. And since 2014, EIT risk scheme has already achieved a lot, I would say a lot. The KICS knowledge innovation communities has established nearly 80 hubs in 18 risk countries. And nearly 200 organizations from these countries became partners of our KICS. And during last 3 years, more than 1,500 early stage startup teams from risk countries were coached by the KICS and were prepared to enter accelerators. And countries that are part of the EIT regional innovation scheme have demonstrated a remarkable interest to join the EIT community and to take part in its activities. And from our experience, modest and moderate innovators hold a great potential for creativity and talent. And to help strengthen that potential, it is important to identify the areas where targeted capacity building support is necessary. And our community succeeded in establishing its presence across the area and mobilized the creative minds across the region, largely through training and business creation activities. And from a wider perspective, EIT delivers on its objectives through the largest innovation ecosystem. All across Europe, the community consists of over 2,000 partners working across more than 60 hubs in Europe and even beyond. And our 8 knowledge and innovation communities focus on issues that matter to Europeans. Those are climate change, renewable energy, food, health, digital transformation, urban mobility, raw materials, and of course smart manufacturing, everything what is related to Industry 4.0. And moving forwards, the EIT community will further support actions that generate EIT risk-borne innovative solutions and put them on the market that help address the societal challenges. And to cover the second part of the question, what we could do to better support the modest and moderate innovators in the recovery process, I would like to stress that EIT has been quick to respond to the pandemic and support Europe's recovery. And as part of crisis response initiative, we have channeled 60 million euros to over 200 vulnerable businesses and rapid response projects in 32 countries. And for example, EIT Health is supporting a virtual control center for infectious diseases specialists who are monitoring patients with COVID-19. And according to a recent study, this technology already led to 50% reduction in mortality rates, which is so vitally important. And looking forward, the EIT is preparing to launch new activities to support Next Generation EU, the Youth Recovery Plan, to kickstart the European economy and to put it on a more stable footing. The EIT community can support member states both with policy advice, for example, on new sustainable technologies that could be deployed, and in the new development of the pipeline of innovative projects that could help to absorb the funds made available by the EU and create maximum positive impact. And like Magda and like Elisa nicely presented the recovery and resilience facility, the key recovery instrument at the heart of the Next Generation EU. To benefit from the facility, member states are encouraged to submit recovery plans. Well, like we heard, some of them already did that. And this is a critical moment and a great opportunity to join forces with the EIT community on programs and activities that will enable our shared recovery and sustainable development. And we also plan to give the EIT regional innovation scheme new momentum over the coming years, as our budget for risk activities will account for a bigger share of our overall funding for the EIT KICs. And we plan to significantly increase the number of our partners in targeted regions and synergize with the regions to ensure the close alignment of our work with smart specialization priorities. And in this context, EIT will further provide support to the risk countries by bolstering their capacity to participate in innovation calls of the KICs, as well as to continue to further develop targeted business creation and acceleration services including providing support to access to finance. And finally, regional actors will play a crucial role in the new IT innovation community and creative industries KIC. This is a new planned KIC, and it will enhance regional innovation and competitiveness by promoting the role of cultural and creative assets in smart specialization strategies. It will help regions overcome traditional fragmentation by opening up new opportunities for creative interregional cooperation. And after all, after this pandemic, crazy pandemic period, culture is the thing that we really need. So that's shortly, Magda, back to you.
Thanks, Laima. Once again, another rich contribution. Very interesting to hear what you are doing for the regional innovation schemes, all the actors you are able to reach. We see also Pink Future for you, new nice developments in the future to develop this further. So thanks a lot of inputs there to the discussion. And you were indeed talking about the ecosystem, the different actors in the ecosystem. So I think once again, it's also a nice moment to pass the floor to Ilaria Corsi. You are, Ilaria, as we said, part of the representative of Lazio Innova, which is a development agency for the Lazio region members, a member of EURADA as well. And you are also coordinator of the European Enterprise Network, we said. So as a member of Lazio Innova, maybe you can tell us about what is the regional experience in Lazio region, which we heard it has been quite interesting, and I think a nice case studies as well for other regions eventually to follow in doing what? In programming the European resources. So structural funds, we mentioned before, Elisa was mentioning as well what are the differences between the two, and recovery funds to promote, of course, research and innovation and the economy recovery for the next 7 years. And also we would like to hear your opinion on what are the main intervention, or let's say the more effective approach that could contribute to the regional recovery and boost the R&I at regional level. So Elisa, floor is yours. Thank you.
Sorry.
Ilaria.
Never mind. It's quite similar, Elisa and Ilaria. Thank you, Magda. Thank you for inviting and I'm honored to participate in this prestigious conference. And thank you for the questions, because the questions give me the opportunity to talk about my regional experience in working with the Lazio regional government in challenging the negative impact of pandemic situation in our economy by recovering it with some concrete actions. One of these actions that the Lazio regional government has put in place is the so-called Lazio Lab initiative. Lazio Lab represents a type of work that needs to be done both in terms of method and contents to build effective and solid responses to the problems that the emergency has posed. We as Lazio region were immediately aware of the historical meaning of this challenge. In fact, the first week of the pandemic, at the end of March, we have created an open laboratory online called the Lazio Lab, in which, thanks to the contribution of experts and academics that worked for free, we had been able to identify some guidelines for the use of national, regional, and above all, European resources that we will have at our disposal in the coming months. This Lazio Lab was was the combination of 6 thematic working tables about innovation research and technology transfer, sustainability and resilience, digitalization, infrastructures and logistics, simplification and governance. Lazio Lab laboratory, thank you for the slides. Lazio Lab laboratory started a participatory process indeed. In fact, all the proposals that came out from Lazio Lab were submitted to the territory, to the labor representatives, to the institutional institutions, to the business world, and the following step was to start to define the guidelines for the next programming period to be approved by our regional council. And at the same time, thanks to the agreement signed with the Italian government, we have been able to reshape part of the European resources of the 2014-2020 cycle to counter the effects of the pandemic even more effectively. So it was clear in our region resources such as a recovery fund that increased the European budget with the aim of financing additional expenses need to be used for development measures rather than for mere welfare. And this is a crucial point for us. And this is also the reason why the resources from the recovery will be allocated, for example, to reinforce both digital and physical infrastructures and enhance the investment in human capital, trainings, and industrial doctorates. That's an important point. I was following before the previous panel, and someone in the chat was writing about the importance to invest in infrastructure and in human capital, and this is our approach. And the output of all this process is a new Lazio model. The new Lazio model is a real challenge that puts in place a system-wide for excellencies and potentialities for our territory. And for this reason, we are building a network of collaborations among SMEs, large companies, research institutions, universities, startups, innovators as well, aiming at improving the contribution of all these actors to the model. And we have already focused our interventions in what we intend the most relevant processes and sectors for the next year. And as far as research innovation is concerned, I would like to present here today an exceptional preview of the main intervention to be financed with the recovery funds. First of all, the creation of a city of knowledge and innovation located in the south of Rome. That is a coordination action with the second university in Rome and the most important research centers for biotech and robotics. And the project will also renovate an unfinished construction of Calatrava Architects that is in the south of Rome. Another measure concerns the creation of the first regional polytechnic institute in Lazio. And another one is about the creation of an innovation hub in the center of Rome. There are also other interventions, of course, such as the launch of a unique public data center, the strengthening of the connection between research and industry with the industrial doctorates, PhDs, And in fact, yesterday at the welcoming session, the moderator was talking about the science without economy doesn't work. Yes, I fully agree with it, with this quote. And about gender intervention, it's important to facilitate women in their access to STEAM trainings and in schools and universities. And last but not least, provide an econometric model for measuring in real time the impact of intervention financed by structural funds, and correct them if necessary. Just to give you some figures, please take into consideration that the only investment for infrastructure, digital infrastructures and services for public administration and citizens, plus the City of Knowledge and the Polytechnic Institute amount approximately to 2,350 million euro of recovery funds. That means that we have an extraordinary, unique opportunity or occasion on one hand, but on the other side, we have a huge responsibility in using these resources. So our goal now is to do more and better, because the COVID-19 is imposing an acceleration of many innovation processes. And about the second question that you posed, in my opinion, I believe that the most urgent issue concern the simplification. And we all have to make an extra effort on this topic. Simplifying does not only mean accelerating procedures and reducing costs and practices for citizens and businesses, but it also means expanding the impact. If we only think about the number of potential beneficiaries to be addressed, simplification is a key point, and it will facilitate also a cross-funding system. And this is crucial for combining together different resources from structural fund, recovery fund, also national funds, into macro areas of intervention, avoiding fragmentation. So it's important, it's clear to have in mind what are the strategic areas of intervention and put their money for overcome this pandemic situation, but also to develop the economy. And during the lockdown, we have already activated some strong intervention in this sense, simplifying some administrative procedures, some call for proposals rules, but it's clear that further effort is needed. And this is the time to act for this. So I conclude my intervention with this point, and I'm to your disposal for any other questions. Thank you, Magda.
Ilaria, thanks a lot. This is indeed a very interesting example, example of a very proactive approach with different entry points and ideas on how to use the different funding sources. So thanks a lot, Ilaria, extremely interesting. We move now to the last but not least speaker. Kieran McCarthy, you are a member of the European Committee of the Regions. In fact, as I said we had been lucky to host you in different edition of Wire, and we are normally in contact as well for all the activities that we do together with the Committee of the Regions, and namely the knowledge exchange platform. So would be nice, since you have been following the different editions, how do you see the role of regions evolving along these years in being a promoter and a beneficiary as well of research and innovation? And also, maybe you can tell the audience what are the actions that the Committee of the Regions is planning or you think they could do in order to support the better involvement of regions in the era for the famous recovery we are discussing in the panel. So Kieran, the floor is yours. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Magda. There's some really big questions there. And I'm delighted to attend another edition of Wire. I think this is really, really important that cities in the EU get to host such conferences as well, and we get to hear the voices of regions. I suppose 5 years ago, I'm 6 years now a member of the European Committee of the Regions, and I'm a city councillor in a city in the south of Ireland, Cork. So I'm virtually calling you from the Atlantic side of the EU. And 5 years ago, like, the Committee of the Regions struck a partnership agreement with DG RTD and the JRC, and that partnership has been growing stronger and stronger, and it's very proactive. So the partnership was about, like, pushing the narrative around innovation and the importance of science and innovation. But I think out of the partnership has grown other elements and other tangents. I do think maybe 5 years into the partnership, we are seeing across the 280 regions that are in NUTS 2 level, that there is this bigger search for best practice and for a seal of excellence, and there's a bigger search for case studies to help actually regions. And I've seen myself that through COR opinions. The Committee of the Regions is an opinion body, but we've actually even scaled up our work, that we want to do more project work, and we want to be more involved and showcase our stories from the ground. And I think that has been one of the positive things from a very basic level over the last 5 years, that we're promoting ourselves more because we've got partnerships with EU institutions. I do think as well, a lot of our members are thinking a lot more about the importance of ecosystems. 5 years ago, I was going into cities and regions on COR missions, and the mayor of the town wasn't talking to the local schools in an effective way or in a sustainable way of thinking going forward. And I do think there's a lot more people now around the table in cities and regions. I like to think that that's something that I'm lucky that before COVID came in, like, I was traveling to different cities and member states every week, and I could see this huge abundance of energy that people were trying to move forward with. I do think as well at the moment the demand is still there for, like, tailor-made programs and evidence-based policy making. I think more and more the COR is kind of getting that point across the line with different DGs within the Commission. I do think as well the COR has been successful in partnership with DG RTD and JRC on smart specialisation. We weren't talking about smart specialisation 5 years ago or 4 editions ago of Wire. I don't think we actually had gone down that road. I do think that I'm seeing at COR level more cities and regions and more of our members, like we have 320 members, and more of our members are taking an interest in iCapital programs, in some of the work of DG Connect in terms of digital cities and intelligent cities, Wi-Fi for EU programs, URBAC programs, Interreg programs. There's like this, I think there's been a direct and indirect influence of building this sort of ecosystem thinking and looking for best practice, that this kind of knock-on effect. And it's also very apparent now in this kind of climate action debate that we're actually having in our cities and our regions. Like, even how do we engage with the Sustainable Development Goals? That we all need to think together, we all need to engage together. One of our worries is the issue of multi-level governance, and how funding is unlocked from our central government or at national government level. And we've had a discussion recently in the COR, one of our plenaries on React-EU, so on the recovery fund, and that we're still not sure how the funding is going to trickle down to cities and regions. So, for example, I mean, the city that I'm a member of, a member of my city council, we were on the front line. We had a community response team when COVID hit first. We've taken a hit on our rates bills from businesses. We've seen SMEs close in my city and region. We've seen the hit on hospitals and the need for funds. So there's part of me that I'm going to keep pushing that narrative during my intervention today, but I was actually really happy to hear about Eliza's comments kind of earlier on, that she wants to work closer with local and regional authorities. So that's actually really great to hear. In terms of perhaps the second question, like for us going forward, we're going to keep the narrative on go local, that there is a diversity at local level when it comes to innovation, best practice, and that all of that kind of needs to be supported, and that these kind of local and regional ecosystems need to feed into whatever the European research area is going to evolve over the next few years through Horizon Europe and other mechanisms. We've also said that be concrete, so that whatever science and innovation is developed, whatever tech is developed, it needs to be useful to people on the ground, to universities, to research centres, to business and local communities. There's no point developing something and the people on the ground can't harness it or can't use it in some way kind of moving forward. And we've also called that the funds themselves need to be simplified. So maybe more project work for cities and regions. I mentioned things like digital cities programs, intelligent cities. Now I know they're not part of DGRTD, but they've been really great for cities like my own city, for example, didn't have a digital city plan. And we actually entered the digital cities program. And now we actually have a plan, and we actually have a digital officer in place and a team around her. And so it was just from us entering a small program that we were actually able to advance. And so for us, like no region and city should be kind of left behind. And also I'm a big believer as well that there's a huge role for the small and medium-sized city, town, municipality to play. I don't think they should be kind of left behind as well. So for me, just to conclude, I've seen the narrative building over the last 5 years in a very positive way, and it's had direct and indirect kind of effects on thinking around the ecosystem, and that has spilled over into debates on rural and EU urban agenda debates. I'm a rapporteur on the EU urban agenda and its implementation, which DG Regio are kind of overseeing. And I've seen like methodologies around getting everyone around the table and get people together a lot more. And that's actually positive for me, and it's something that when I speak about this in the Committee of the Regions, I'm proud that we've actually built such a narrative, and we do look forward to working closely with future WIRE editions and DG RTD and JRC kind of going forward. And we're on the right track. We need to just keep doing what we're doing and keep building on it. So Magna, thanks very much.
Kieran, thanks a lot. Very nice to see, to have your view on how this has been evolving. Of course, there are things still to be done, but a lot has been done indeed. And what you are mentioning in terms of exactly this recognition of the role of regions and going local and the ongoing collaboration are things that have been built up step by step. And the fact that exactly we continue this collaboration, for instance, on the knowledge exchange platform since 2015, with an enriched interest by both parties, I think it's really a sign that we are getting all the feedback and making really use of them in order to build this. But of course, still there are issues that you mentioned. There's mass specialization, the fact that no regions needs to be left behind. So probably still we need to work on that. So with this last intervention, we close for the moment the panel session properly said with the programmed intervention, and we will open the floor now to the questions that have become quite numerous in our chat box and also through Slido. So our colleagues from the WIRE organization have moved the questions that you put in Slido to the chat so we can see that. Just let me say just a few words for this first part that has been extremely interesting in terms of all the the inputs that we have received, okay, I mentioned a few things already in terms of exactly the consultation, the ecosystem, personal resources, excellence has been mentioned. So there are a lot of interesting elements, and also these are reflected in the European research area. So I like the new communication. I like to see this that we are indeed in the right track. So let's open the floor now to the questions. I have already there are few actually that are really indicating the name of the people they have been addressed to. So maybe I just go first to Elisa. There are two questions. One is more linked to the fact of this technical support in implementation of the RRF. Would be nice to hear what are the tools available, and eventually if it's at member states, it's also at regional level. And there was another one linked to also the sectoral support. This is, I think, linked to the research and innovation side of the RRF. Maybe if you can say a few words as well on this specific angle of the RRF in your view, and maybe I can also say something on some of the technical support. So Elisa, maybe you want to answer this question that came from Annelise, please.
Yes, thank you very much. So thank you for these questions. They're very interesting. So the first question is whether member states will benefit from any kind of technical support in implementing the RRF. The answer is yes. And that support can come through the technical support initiative that the Commission has, and for which member states can submit their requests every year. The deadline is the 31st of October, and in fact, we've received a huge number of requests this year from member states. And for the member states that I'm responsible, at least 3 of them have submitted requests, which also cover a whole range of areas, from transport to research and innovation to coordination within the different administrations, central administration with regional administrations, with the different development agencies, with the research institutes. Yes, that is available. Sorry. Sorry about that. The second question was, what role can research and innovation play in the RRF? And here, as I mentioned in my introduction, obviously, research and innovation is one of the ways that we are going to be able to contribute to the recovery and the resilience of the European economy. And we have to take, in a way, opportunity of this crisis to really rethink a little bit how we want to take our research and innovation agenda forward. And I do think that in that respect, there's quite a lot that we can do. Creating, for example, the conditions for SMEs to innovate, helping our research, consolidating our public science base, making reforms to universities and the governance model, making, for example, research careers much more attractive, supporting firms to innovate. And I mentioned at the start that both the digital and the green transition, I think, offer distinct opportunities there. We also are encouraging member states to invest heavily in things like artificial intelligence, the rollout of 5G, extending the broadband infrastructure to areas which don't have it, to improve digital skills. So all of these are areas where I think member states and regions can help to foster research and innovation. So thank you for those questions.
Elisa, thanks a lot. Indeed, very, very interesting, and we see exactly as you rightly mentioned, and we are pleased with that there is a place for research and innovation. It's good that there are tools. In fact, we will have as well. So I'm also advertising also tomorrow in a session. A representative of DG Reform, which is the Director General that is dealing with the technical support initiative, which is indeed the technical support you were mentioning. They cover different things. I like as well to advertise a bit also tools that are more sectorial in the sense that they really focus on research and innovation being complementary to this tool. We have the policy support facility as well. And of course, when the member states, as it is mentioned in the guidelines as well, wish to go further and more in detail, I think, on discussing more sectorial elements, I think the different DGs are also available for this type of dialogue. And of course, our tools as well are at disposal. And we work very much in collaboration, of course, with the other DGs that are supporting the process, like indeed the DG Reform and DG Regio for the other issues related to the structural funds, and of course with the SecGen as coordinating the entire thing. So that's very nice. It's very nice what you say. I think also for the reform that there has been as well a kind of a regional approach. So sorry, this was a call for me, but I cannot take it. Sorry for that. There was a colleague. So thanks a lot. Now we go, so very interesting perspective. We go now to another question that was specifically addressed to some viewers, Lyme, and there is something related to the relations with the EIC. So how is EIT planning to work closely with the EIC in supporting recovery, but also boosting innovation in Europe? Maybe Laima, do you want to come in on that?
Yes, very shortly. EIT is not only planning to work closely with the EIC, but it is doing it already. There is a special dedicated group for that, for close cooperation and collaboration. And what is very important to understand that EIT is mainly dedicated and working on communities, societies, education, innovation creation, while the main aspect of EIC is support of the breakthrough innovations. And of course, each and every of us, we are keen on having as many unicorns as possible. Doesn't matter the sector, whether it is health, digital solutions, or Industry 4.0. Each of us, we are streaming for the same target, but these differences must be perceived very clearly. So EIC is working on breakthrough innovations. EIT is working on community, society, education, innovation creation, business support on the from the financial aspects that are a bit less risky and lower level. So, I don't know if this is an answer.
Well, for me it is. In case if they want to know a bit more, they will come back in the question. So please, who was asking the question can also eventually come back if they need to have more information in the chat. I noticed another question that maybe I will address to Niels. There is one on from Josip. Could the EU R&I efforts and funds overcome regional and national lack of R&I capacities? So you were mentioning a bit that, as we say, you were mentioning access to excellence, the importance that these challenges are, in fact, European, they concern everybody. Do you want to try to give an answer to this topical question?
Did you ask me? Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
But,
good. Yeah, I would like to. I think that you cannot just look at the EU efforts isolated, because of course you need to I think you need to use the EU efforts and the EU incentives as one tool in. But base it on the resources and the opportunity you have nationally, locally, or regionally. So in that sense, so you need to have that basis in order. And I think that also connects very much to having the ability to focus and to mobilize the right resources locally and regionally in these ecosystems that we have been talking about. And if you have this foundation, yes, then the European policy and the European incentives in this area can be very useful. And I want maybe to use the opportunity also to agree very much with Kieran about the local aspect and the involvement of the local level in what we are talking about here. And I think we need to recognize the reality that the public support to the EU is under pressure. And in my view, if we manage to involve local actors, the populations, the local politicians, and the local institutions in European cooperation, that's a fantastic tool to increase the understanding of what Europe and what the EU actually is. And I see that from experience in my own area that the reluctance to talk about EU is completely different when we talk about European cooperation and seeing how we can engage in European cooperation at a local level. So less EU and less institutions and more locally based European cooperation.
Okay, very good. So we don't have to think about much on tools. No, that's good. I think, as you rightly say, also the beginning is always it has to be a joint effort. None of the tools on their own are enough. So we try to combine. We try to use at the best the different tools available, the resources, the reforms, because we are talking about not only funding, but a lot of the accent is on reforms. And Elisa was rightly mentioned few reforms as well, extremely important in the area of research and innovation that are structural, and they build then the resilience of the system. So again, it's a nice toolbox, and we have to see which are the right tools to use and in which way and how. And this is a bit linked as well. So maybe I go to Ilaria. I'm just surprising you. I like this question, how to innovate regional approaches for programming new interventions. So here is really on the approach. And I think, for instance, the approach of the region Lazio has been quite innovative and being proactive. And maybe you can say a few elements on that, go a bit deeper on what you were saying before answering this question that came from Slido. Please, Ilaria.
Okay, Magda. Yes, our approach that I presented before was quite innovative for us and hopefully for many other regions in Europe. And the importance of this approach is to keep on transformation and innovation. So it's important to take into consideration the transition to digital, to climate neutral, and so on. But it's also important to face the traditional intervention that regions have to face with a more innovative mindset, let me say. It's important because even when a region needs to invest money for example, physical infrastructure, it's important to take into consideration the new technologies, the digital innovations, and so think about this kind of traditional investments also in a new way. So, in my opinion, it's the approach means also the method for programming, investing, spend the funds, controlling the expenditure. It's important to have the capacity to understand if money that we are allocating to intervention are correct and have the possibility to react in real time to this issue. That's enough.
No, thanks a lot, Ilaria. In the meanwhile, we have reached a moment where I want a bit to ask the few advices from your side, the last words from your side. So, in fact, I turn to Kiran. I think that amongst the questions that were on the slide and in the chat, we have practically covered everything. So I would turn to you, and I do the turn on the opposite side, and I will ask each of you to please, to conclude the session, to give me in one sentence what is for you a do and a don't for a successful engagement of regions in this R&I reforming process and investments in R&I for the recovery. So what would be your advice, your do and don't advice? Please,
any actions going forward should be concrete, and that they shouldn't be just useful to regional universities or research centres, but also useful to business and local communities, and that we keep thinking about the ground.
Very good. Concreteness. Very good. So I will go then to, okay, I just do the opposite order than at the beginning. Ilaria, what is for you, do and don't?
Ilaria or Elisa? Ilaria.
Ilaria.
Okay.
This time I was right.
I was thinking about don't, because do, in my opinion, is collaborate, share experience, share knowledge, interact. It is very important to combine together solutions and react to any difficulty. And for don't avoid to be isolated, is the contrary. Exactly. Sometimes between institutions and some categories, it's difficult to combine together work and collaboration.
Very good. Thanks, Ilaria. Now, your advice, Laima, please.
Well, my advice on don't for modest and moderate innovators: don't be modest in using all the opportunities out there, and do approach the communities, do approach the programs, and use all the possibilities that are on the table.
Very good. Thanks, Laima. We go to Lars.
Thank you very much. So my advice would be to focus and specialize and dare to choose the areas where you have real opportunity, but then at the same time also daring to admit that there are some areas that you are not choosing, and then for the observation point is that the smart specialization in the European understanding of this term can be a solution, but is not always a solution to this focus, because smart specialization, as the commission is using it, is a bureaucratic concept, and in my view that real specialization comes from a much more organic process. So smart specialization is not always the solution to focus. Thank you.
Okay, maybe it's exactly everything depends on how you interpret the smart specialization. So I think at the origin the idea is positive, as you say, to select the opportunities. Indeed, Elisa, your turn, please.
I would say, don't waste the opportunities presented by this crisis. Don't just invest, but take the opportunity to make the reforms that you need for long-term solutions to Europe's problems.
Very good. All right, so this is already a perfect summary of the key messages for this session, and I will use it as well as part of my conclusion because I like it a lot. So be concrete, and I think this is what we are trying to do, also to support the actions and try to elaborate things that are building on the different achievement. As I said, this comes from Kieran, and there is a lot of concrete ideas to go forward, to collaborate, and this is, I think, along the all parts, all the documents, so the communication, the different collaboration. This is the idea of this partnership is so a partnership that is between member states, regions, and the Commission with this multi-level governance. And the partnership, in a sense, and this was very clear as well when we were discussing the ERA communication, is not a top-down approach, but is really a partnership approach of co-creating. And I think it's in the same spirit that the RRF comes there, where we are there together, not only to provide funds or provide recommendation, but really to build together what is the best way forward, supporting the member states in their decision and in the go for the best way forward. Not to be modest is very nice. There are a lot of opportunities there, and it's very important that all of us we are aware of them. This is the good thing. And so also this reaching out is very important, this dialogue that we are promoting with the member states, with the regions, with the local actors, I think is very important, because if you need to seize the opportunities, you need to know about them. And this is again an effort that we are trying to do all together, collaborating as well with the other, I'm speaking for my DG, but with the other DGs as well, in order that the same message comes out and to member states, to regions and cities, and in a way that it's clear who is doing what are the different opportunities, and in a way that we can decide, and to the member states and regions can decide the best possibilities for each. And this is linked as well to the specialization. This is as well linked in terms of the who does what and what are the different tools for, in order to avoid overlapping, in order to avoid wasting resources, but really to use them for their own specific use and logic of intervention, and try therefore to add value in the use. And this idea of the specialization, this organic specialization Lars was mentioning, is extremely important. And as Elisa says, not to waste the opportunity. So for me, there is a lot there. There is a lot to be done by the different actors. Regions are definitely key in this discussion. That's why in the ERA communication, you see them very prominent. And this is why our WIRE conference wanted to support also regions in this endeavor, and the actors that are in the regions, and the regions that works together with the member states for that, for the recovery. So with that, I think we close this session, hoping that, so first of all, thanking very much all the speakers for their important contribution. We gave a 360 degrees, I think, view on the different possibilities that are open there. And we really remain, as well from my side, to be open to listen also further feedback in the future. You know where to find us, and in order to eventually eliminate barriers if there are, and to help you in this difficult endeavor that is for the help, the usefulness and the benefit, beneficial to all. So thanks for the audience who stayed with us for 1 hour and a half, and I wish a nice continuation for these other important sessions of the conference. Thanks to the speakers, thanks to the organizers and the technicians that helps us in setting up this session, and to the audience. And I think it's time for lunch, so have a nice lunch and afternoon. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Magda.
Thanks to all. Bye.
Stay safe.
Bye.
Stay safe. Yes.